Today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to make this triangle scarf. It's a summer scarf. I used cotton yarn and I used a bit of Angora that I had left over. This is the perfect project to use some of your hand spun Angora or some other luxe yarn maybe that is really special, really pretty, but you don't have a lot of it. Also, because this is a summer project, it's very cool, and using it as an accent piece. You know, a lot of the luxe yarns can be very warm, like cashmere and Angora. So this is a great project where you can use a little bit of luxe, but not heat up your actual garment that you're going to be wearing. So I designed this to be worn as a shawlette and a neck scarf. Still very, very cool. It's not going to add any heat. And if you find yourself at a music festival or a drum circle or something, this can also be worn as a hip scarf. Now, I don't like to tie my hip scarves when I wear them. I like using my shawl pin. I feel like it just looks a little neater. So this is a very versatile summer crochet project. That is what today's tutorial is. Making this very versatile, cool summer scarf that can be worn a number of ways. Using beads and a little luxe yarn that may be in your stash that is needing used. If you want the written pattern, that will be in my Etsy shop and I will put the link below. And I know I personally prefer to have a video tutorial and a written pattern. I find that having the written pattern, I can like go through it a whole lot quicker than if I have to refer back to the video constantly. So that's available to you. And like I said, that link will be in the description. Also, I'll drop my website link in the description and the sign up for my e-zine, Angora centric, which is about slow fashion, farm fibers, sustainable fashion, and making things yourself that you're never going to want to throw away. I mean, that's the ultimate in not wasteful, is making something so carefully and something you're going to love so much that you are never going to want to throw it away. Other people will want it, and if they purchase it from you or you give it to them, they'll never throw it away. So anyway, let's get to the tutorial. So I'm going to be using this Japanese hook. It's a 4. The equivalence for the US hook is 2.5 millimeter or a C hook. The yarn size I'm using is kind of a sport weight yarn. It's not quite a DK, it's not a fingerling, it's that in the middle. I definitely would consider this more of a sport weight yarn, and this is the brand I'm using for this particular one. I have some other yarn suggestions in the pattern that work really well for this hip scarf. And then for the accent, I'm going to be using some of my hand spun Angora art yarn. This is mixed with a little silk, a little merino. You can see with this one I used some of my Angora art yarn also. And then on the bottom I used these beads. They're called daisy beads, 4 millimeter, and I used exactly 30 of them. But depending on how big or small you decide to make your scarf, that will determine how many beads you're going to have to use. And when you're done crocheting the scarf, all you're going to do is just count how many chain spaces you've got, and then we'll get to how we put the beads on at the end of the video. Now, after you have made your chain to the length you want, you're going to do a single crochet in the first chain from the hook, and then you're going to chain 4, and you're going to single crochet in the 4th chain from that single crochet. Then you're going to start the mesh pattern. You're just going to chain 5 and single crochet in the 5th chain from the single crochet you just made previously. And you're just going to continue to do that for your first row. Now, when you come to the end of one of your mesh rows, what makes this triangular shape and finishes it off is you are going to chain 2, and then you are going to triple crochet in that center chain of the previous row, and that is going to shorten the row and start to taper it off in the triangle. And then you're just going to continue doing 5 chains and single crochet in that top chain of the previous row. And you can do this 9 to 10 times, depending on, you know, how wide you want the upper band of your scarf to be. Once you've got however many rows you would like for the top part to be, now we're going to do the wider one, and you're going to chain 10, and so you're going to skip the first chain space and single crochet in the next top chain space to start to form that larger mesh. So chain 10, skip a chain 5, single crochet into the next one. And so now you're starting your large mesh pattern. If you don't want to do your single crochet right smack in the middle of that chain 5, you can just randomly put it there. You can randomly put it here on the first mesh too, but I found that when I did just randomly put it and I didn't put it right inside of a chain, that this kind of became a little distorted. But for the large mesh, it didn't really matter. Your last 2 chain spaces here, your last 2 chain 5, you're going to chain 5, and you're going to wrap, wrap, and wrap. You're going to come to the last chain 5, and I do recommend, just so it doesn't get distorted, to do this stitch in that top of the chain 5, and you're going to pull through 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to give you a more even look with the rest, consistent with the rest of this mesh. And then you're just going to turn your work, chain 10 and single crochet in the previous chain 10, and that is going to be your pattern for the next like 22 rows or however many it takes to get your complete triangle shape. And I will be back when I get to the bottom of my triangle. So once you get down to the last bit of chain and that last, I think it's a triple double crochet, you're going to tie that off and get your Angora, or if you're using some other kind of pretty accent yarn that you've got left over. So the first thing I'm going to do is just Put my hook in the corner where I first started. Pull it through. And then I'm just going to chain one, and I'm going to single crochet across the edging. That is all I'm going to do. You're not going to have a whole lot of chains here, so you really just want to follow along. Don't want to stretch it at all. And then of course, when you get down to the bigger mesh, which is more like 5 chains here, you know, again, you don't want to stretch it out. You just want to fill in the chain spaces. And then I do put a single crochet in the edge stitch there too. So you're going to do that for the whole edging of the triangle of the scarf. When you get down to the point of the scarf, if you want to make a more defined point instead of just curving that out, I'll single crochet in that point stitch right there, and then I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to single crochet back in the first stitch, and then continue. So then that little picot there will make a more defined point. Okay, a little change of plans. I discovered that once I did all my single crochets around the bottom edging, that I was not going to have enough scrap of my scrap Angora yarn here. So I undid that. I didn't want it to just be the single crochet edge. I wanted it to actually be on the prettier part of the scarf. So I undid it, and I've got this soy silk that I think will look good with all these. So I undid it, and I just single crocheted just like I talked about in the previous section of the video. And begin the next row. Since I had to switch yarns, I'm going to pull my new yarn through, chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet back in the same space. So if you're using the same yarn, all you're going to do is turn your work, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to single crochet back into that same first single crochet. And now you're going to chain 5, skip 3 single crochets, and single crochet in the 4th. Skip 3 and single crochet. And I'm just going to do that little edging until I get to the other side. Okay, when you get to your point, it may come out a little bit wonky and not seem like it's going to work out, but it will. Just do your 5 chains, and if you have to like go up 1 or go 1 over farther, it's not gonna matter. 3 more chains, and then come around and single crochet. So it's even. Very forgiving pattern. So that's how I handle the little point there. I'm just going to add a few more chain spaces and go around and just even it up here. Okay, so when you come to the end point, you are going to, and this isn't going to be perfect either. See, I've got like 2 extra stitches here, but that's okay. It's not going to matter. I'm going to chain 3. If yours is perfect, that's fine. Then you can just, you know, chain 3 and then do a double crochet. Since I've got these extra here, I'm going to do a triple crochet, because I don't want to start the next row down here. I want to start it from up here. And if you were already using your chosen color of yarn, your Angora scrap yarn, whatever it is you're using, you're just going to turn your work. But for me, I'm going to switch my yarn, and hopefully I will have enough of this to do the next row. So now, either with a different yarn or the same yarn you are using, you're going to chain 5, and then you're going to chain 3, single crochet in the first chain of the chain 3, and then you're going to chain 5. You're going to skip a chain 5, and you're going to single crochet in the middle of the next chain 5. So you have this little formation here. And here's to hoping I'm going to have enough to get around the scarf. So there's 5. 1, 2, 3. Single crochet in the first of that little chain 3, and skip a chain 5, single crochet in the next chain 5. So hopefully I'll have enough, and the next section that you see me doing will not be in the soy silk. It'll hopefully be in my Angora that I'm trying to use up. So I'm going to continue this all around the scarf. Now, again, we're making a few modifications for the point of the scarf. And because this number might be different than mine, and your number of chains might be different, but hopefully you did this similar where you took the chain all the way around, because now right here I don't have the option of skipping a chain 5 unless I skipped it and went all the way over here, which would not look good. I have to think about how this point is going to look. So I did my chain 10 with the picot here and put it at the top of the point, and now I'm going to do it on the other side too. So my point is looking like this now, and as you can see here, and the other one, I did the same thing. You can see how this is going to go. So I've made my little picot chains on either side of that midpoint, and then I'm going to come back up, and when I hit the picots, I'm going to make another point, and so on. Why I have crocheted it like this. You want to work with the point, not against it. I'm going to continue on, and it looks like I'm going to have enough. So here I am at the end, and I've only got 1 chain space left. So I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do a triple crochet in the middle of that chain 5. So it will put me at the starting position that I want to be. I'm going to change back to my original green color. I'm going to have extra ends to hide here. Push through at the top of that triple crochet. pull it through. I'm going to single crochet in that same stitch. And I'm going to repeat that row. And then I'm going to single crochet in the previous row's picot. And that is going to give a pretty mesh edge with a little more of a finishing touch because those picots are a little bit more structured. Especially if you're using a yarn like here, where I used this Angora yarn that was kind of bumpy, thick and thin, not real structured at all. The picot definitely helped give it a little bit more structure, so it wasn't just, you know, all over the place. So I'm going to do that to the other end of the scarf. So when you come to the end, you're going to chain 4, and then you're going to wrap 1, 2, 3, and then pull through 2 loops, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you end at this top peak again. If you're using the same yarn, just turn it. And all you're gonna do, you're not even gonna do the picots this time. You're just gonna chain 10 and go to the center of the picot. And the reason we're doing that is because then the next row is going to have a bead on it, and that's going to put some weight on the ending. So the picot was not really necessary there. I just used it for more of the structure in the center. For this last row, I didn't think it was necessary. If you would like to do another row and put the picots in the middle, of course you can do that. So I'm going to attempt to use my scrap yarn here on that next row. So once again, if you are changing colors, you're just going to pull through, chain 1, and single crochet in that first stitch. And you'll hide those ends later, and chain 10, and single crochet in the picot. And you're just going to do that all the way around once again. Here at the end, and I had enough. It was looking like I wouldn't, but I did. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to do a double triple stitch. So I end at the top of that stitch. And now I'm ready for the last part, the last row, but I want to add beads. To determine how many beads you're gonna need, all you gotta do is count the space in between the previous rows, chain stitches and single crochet stitch. So I'm gonna see how many beads I need. And I need 28 of them, and I'm going to string them on my yarn. I have a beading needle here to make it a little easier, because shoving the yarn in that little hole would just get a little bit annoying. So once you have your beads, if you're using beads, strung on to your yarn, you're just going to pull your yarn through. You're going to chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet back in that space and lock it down, and then chain 5. Add a bead, and chain 5 more. Single crochet and the next chain 10. And so now you got your first bead. Chain 5, add a bead, chain 5 more, I'm just going to continue to do this all the way till the end. Okay, when you get to the end, just chain all the way down, single crochet in that last chain space, tie it off, and then we got to go back and hide all these annoying ends. So, but it's done. I am going to block mine. You don't have to. I feel like it would open up the stitches and look better with this particular yarn though. I should bring out a little bit more halo of my Angora when I do that too. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and didn't find it difficult. Remember, the written pattern is available to you also. If you have any questions, just drop it in the links, and don't forget to sign up for my e-zine, Angora Centric. Y'all have a good one.